To me, guys, this argument, this narrative that you can't drop or bench Sonny for this game against this team because he always usually plays well against them, I think it has to stop. Because morning guys, how are you? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy's up ahead playing with some ice. It's episode 136 of Tottenham Walks. Could be episode 3 of Tottenham Slips. We'll wait and see. Please do me a favour, guys. Hit the like button, the subscribe button if you haven't, the notification bell button, and drop a comment if you'd like to participate in the conversation. Guys, it's game day. It's game day. Doesn't matter what else is going on in your life. When you know that Tottenham are playing in a few hours, at least a little bit of your attention is always going to be taken away in that direction, to be concerning yourself with what might be. And guys, it's Manchester City away. A game, it's always a tough one. It's a game that most teams fear. It's a game though that Tottenham usually do pretty okay in over the years. Certainly, Manchester City, of all of the different top 6 teams, is a team that we have, I guess, the most relative and relevant success against. And so it's always one to look forward to. It's usually an absolute belter of a game. But obviously this season everything feels a little bit different for both teams. Manchester City, off the back of a disappointing, pride-denting loss against Manchester United, they will want a massive reaction from their team. And Tottenham, off the back of a very pride-denting, humiliating 2-0 home loss to our North London derby rivals Arsenal, which, at the time when I first reviewed it, I thought that it was embarrassing and it was awful, and maybe a lot of that was out of the emotion in the moment. Had things gone a different way, had Hugo Lloris not made those 2 rash decisions or 2 mistakes, had Ramsdale not put in a man of the match performance, maybe the game wasn't quite as clear cut and quite as one-sided as I portrayed in my initial review. But we'd always seem to shoot ourselves in the foot, right? Silly mistakes that come from players that are very good technically when they're acting on instinct, but when you give them a moment to think about the sensible thing to do, something breaks in their thought processes and they crumble under pressure. A fragile confidence that is leaned into by well-executed tactics from opposing teams. It's happened too many times this season, not just to Hugo Lloris, but to Eric Dyer as well. Longley and Ben Davies a little bit less frequently, but it happens quite a lot. And you know that Manchester City will 100% be doing the high press tonight, with the focus not just being on the centre-backs, but any back passes to Hugo Lloris will be chased down by very rapid forward lines players that Manchester City have. So it leads me to think, is it the right call to put him in? Is it the right guy for the right time? I know that Conte said afterwards he's the club captain, he has the faith and the trust in Hugo. I put a poll out on Twitter during the week asking who should we start in goal, and the answer was, from the few hundred people that responded, overwhelmingly in favour of Fraser Forster to start at 74%, I think it was. So we'll have to see what decision Conte makes there. But if he does go with Hugo, or in fact Fraser Forster, the same tactic will be executed. Press high, press often, and don't stop at the defenders. Keep going all the way to the goalkeeper. And if we make any more silly mistakes in the first half, then, or in the second half, but if we make any silly mistakes, the game could easily be beyond us. It could also go the other way. You could also see the kind of resurgence, like what we saw last season. We were off the back, if I'm not mistaken, we were off the back of a bad result the week before City. Everyone was expecting doom and gloom, and then Tottenham turned up and smashed it. So you never know, you just never know. And of course you've got this added variable, right, that if we win tonight, we're helping Arsenal win the league. I've even seen a few people say, they're not really sure what result they particularly want, because if Tottenham were to win, it, first of all, it dampens the Levy out movement, and second of all, it helps Arsenal. And so, you know, a win for Tottenham isn't necessarily, you know, a great thing in their mind, which, to me, I don't care where you sit on any particular spectrum. I know that most people wouldn't feel like that, but I have heard quite a few people intimating they feel that way. To me, the ends don't justify the means. You always need to want Tottenham to win, regardless of your other ambitions, and let Arsenal worry about themselves and let Manchester City worry about themselves. So I hope we go there and win tonight. But it's interesting to speculate, I guess, a little bit, what sort of team are we going to play? You know, we have injury recoveries now. We have pretty much a full strength team. I think, you know, Lucas Moura is out still, but he's someone you can pretty much kind of write off, I think, anyway now. And so we have 5 forwards to choose from. Is Antonio Conte going to stick with his 3-4-3 and hope that we can replicate a similar performance to last season by playing a similar team and a similar system? Or is he going to pivot and change things up? Is he finally going to drop Heung-min Son? You know, to me, guys, this argument, this narrative that you can't drop or bench Sonny for this game against this team because he always usually plays well against them, I think it has to stop, because it's been used far too frequently this season and he hasn't put in any good shifts against any of the teams that he usually plays very well against. I know that the options haven't always been there for Conte to make changes. There's been a lot of injuries to Richarlison, to Decky. He didn't necessarily trust Bryan Hill too much at the start of the season, and in fact only really gave him a chance because needs must. He has stuck with Sonny, and I know that Sonny himself has had a lot of injuries, you know, to his face that have been distracting, but I think you have to, you know, own it that Sonny is not a shadow of the guy that he was last season. And now that you have options to go with, is it reasonable to keep playing him? What message does it send to other players? Bryan Hill, for example, has come in and done a very good shift in the 2 or 3 games that he's been asked to play, and I think that that should be rewarded. Richarlison is back, probably immediately goes ahead of Bryan Hill in the pecking order, but you know, hasn't really done anything wrong. Came into the Arsenal game late on and looked very passionate and hungry off the back of a successful World Cup. He'll want to get back into the team and put in a shift. And I think, for me personally, one of those two has to start ahead of Sonny tonight. I know the only real argument for having him in, Sonny in, is based on the fact that he usually plays well against Manchester City. And as I say, I just don't think that's a strong enough argument, given that it's been used far too frequently this year and proven not to be the case. Proven to have been a bad choice. So how do you play around it? Do you go 3-5-2, go 3 men in the midfield? Do you drop Pape Sarr because he hasn't played, he wasn't a part of this squad last season that played well and Højbjerg and Bentancur were? Or do you think that on merit Sarr should maintain his place, Højbjerg could be dropped, Bentancur and Sarr can be experimented with together in a 3-4-3 that either includes Sonny if he wants to, or Richarlison or Bryan Hill on the left? Or do you go to a 3-5-2 where you keep either Sarr, where you play Sarr, Højbjerg and Bentancur, or Bissouma, Højbjerg and Bentancur, and then you just play Decky and Kane up front? To me, there's options. There's the ability for Conte to be unpredictable on this one. There's the ability to sort of unravel or you know, disrupt Manchester City's tactical game plan against us by doing something out of left field. Will he do it? This is what he's getting paid 15 million quid for. He's got to figure out a way to get a result. And I'm interested to see what he does. If I was in charge, I would probably go 3-5-2, put 3 men in the midfield, Decky and Kane up top for the first half, with the intention of bringing Sonny off the bench early in the second half. As long as we're still in the game, get into half time still within the game, either level, ahead, or just down by 1 goal, worst case scenario, and then go for it second half by bringing Sonny on, fresh-legged against a tiring Manchester City squad, and then maybe bring on Richarlison as well, if needs must. That's what I would do. And the 3 men I would use in midfield would be Pape Sarr, Bentancur, and Højbjerg. And I'll give Højbjerg a slightly more liberal role, let him be slightly more advanced of the 3. Let me know your thoughts, guys. It's a tough one. I'm excited to see it. Always get behind the team. I'll be on the Irish Hotspur with Jack this evening. I'll see you about, whatever, 7 o'clock-ish, I guess. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. As always, bye-bye.